Happy Monday.
To you too. So
why don't we go like that? Like walk us through your early years, what you do. You were born and then what happened? How did Beth get to be Beth?
So one of the things I love to say when people ask this type of question is there's never been a 6-year-old girl in the history of the world who wanted to be a mortgage executive for Halloween.
Do you not want to be that?
I mean, now it's definitely a sought after Halloween costume, but I guarantee you when I was growing up, they did not have that costume in the store. I mean, shocking.
But now it sells out on Amazon.
Somehow I managed to be a mortgage executive and I like it. So why isn't it the main costume for your basic 6-year-old girl? I don't know. It was more serendipity. There's a lot of things along the way. Obviously, no one has a perfectly linear career. Mine is a little bouncy, but then it looks linear in retrospect just because of the different bounces, which is probably what happens to most people. I grew up in the Northeast in New Jersey. Once I stopped being things for Halloween and started focusing on some other aspects of my life, I actually was a lawyer for a short period of time, which again is incredibly beneficial to me in what I do now occasionally. I know unfortunately, this is a podcast. I try not to tell people that I actually have a law degree and practice law because it doesn't always work. You can be the type of person who builds consensus and have a law degree, I guarantee you, but it's not a well-known fact. It is something that I try to do, but it is a nice way of thinking about things.
Contract, litigation, transactional. What were you aspiring to be in your teenage years?
In my teenage years, actually, I wanted to be a scientist, I think. And I was actually a biology major undergraduate.
You have bounced around.
Yeah, and I worked on the vaccine. I was really into it, but I found that even though intellectually I loved it, it drove me a little crazy working on this vaccine and not really being around people and being more in isolation. And you probably already figured this out, but I'm just much more social than that. And the mice weren't doing it for me.
Did you have any fun hobbies growing up? Any different sports or games or?
Yeah, I used to ski a lot. My sport was snow skiing, which is also a little weird from the East Coast, but it worked.
Favorite mountain?
Oh, favorite mountain, definitely Utah. Probably Alta or Snowbird. Alta.
Easy to get to now, right? With the airport? Yeah. Cool. So now going into a little bit CEO world.
Hey, it's me, Joe. Before we dive back into the video, quick reminder. This episode is brought to you by us, Sell to Rent.
Remember, here at Sell to Rent, we do all the heavy lifting so you can focus on growing your portfolio and learn more by clicking the links in the description. Now let's go back to the video.
So from behind the scenes, when you're burned out, what's your go-to recharge ritual? What do you do when you're like, I'm about to get burned out, I need a time out? What do you do?
I need a break. So yeah. I have a really pretty extensive vegetable garden. I don't even let anyone else in there even to weed it. I'm a big gardener and I tend to it's like pioneer woman sometimes. I put up the produce, I actually do some canning. It's pretty funny. I have this girlfriend whose mom came up from the South and she was like, I never met a Northern girl who could can. She was so excited. Like tomatoes and corn relish and stuff like that. So if I really need to kind of block out what's going on at work and completely recharge, it's dirt.
You literally get your hands
dirty. What I do for a living is basically real estate is dirt. I like to play in the garden.
Cool. I never heard that one. I'm digging it. If you could have dinner with anybody in the world, the history of the world, dead or alive, who would you love to spend some quality time with?
So, it's funny. There was a prompt once for one of the college essays that I wrote when I was applying. And the person I picked was Will Shortz, who is the editor of the New York Times crossword puzzle. I am obsessed with the Sunday puzzle and some of the little nuances and stuff in there. I just thought having dinner with him would have been amazing.
Is he alive still or no?
I think so. I don't think he's editing the puzzle anymore. I see other names on it now.
So yeah, talk about Encore now. So walk us through the high level origin story. What led you to start it? What was the aha moment that you saw?
I was very focused on single family rental and figuring out kind of who was buying the equity for it, because I was running a small, more of a fix and flip, small private money lender for auction.com. And it seemed like a good idea to build a bridge loan company in order to help sell the assets. We were very focused on getting the highest value for the assets, not really on building the finance company. But once I put together the finance company, I really enjoyed it. And it was something that kind of naturally was working. And I just really enjoyed spending time with the sponsors, understanding the strategies, getting in really deep with people. And at the time, Colony American Homes was one of the big buyers and users. And they called me and said, we're thinking about building a finance company. Can we finance out some of your assets? And I spent some time with them talking about it. And a couple days later, they called me back and they said, we really enjoyed having drinks with you. It was at like the very, very first IMN in Scottsdale. Would you consider coming here and actually running the finance company that we're thinking about building? And I was like, oh, no, I'm never going to California again. But here's like 3 other names. These people would be great for you. And a couple days later, they kept calling and they're like, look, we didn't say you could have the job. Just come and interview for it, So I did. I went out and interviewed and they said, look, we really want you to do it. And you can do it from New York and just be where you need to be when you need to be there. And so we built Colony American Finance from scratch. And it was actually the first time as a PE fund that they backed a backer with a strategy, although the strategy was also theirs, rather than buying a company and investing in the company. And so it was a really interesting kind of from the ground, being the first employee, build up, but doing a startup within an institution that you'd already raised the money and you had some infrastructure. So it was a nice way to leg into being an entrepreneur.
What gave you the vision for Encore?
That company actually evolved and was sold a few times, and I continued to run it, and it became CoreVest. And then when I left, it just seemed like I wasn't done yet, that the market wasn't done yet, that there was just, I don't know, I felt like I had more to do, and I was getting calls from my clients, and I was working on some stuff on the side, and it just felt like it was time to start another company that could kind of finish it. And the market is very different, and it's not, even though it's a similar company with a similar end user, the strategy changes because the market changes, and you have to be nimble and be working with the market. You can't be somebody who issues into 12 years of cycle, right? It's just never been, it hasn't been the same market for the past 12 years.
It hasn't been the same market for the last 2 years, which is
lately
awesome.
It's not the same market for 12 days, like literally.
So if you were to explain Encore to my 6-year-old, right? So can you numb it down for us of what you guys do today, what the company looks like today?
We support investors. And so it depends on where they are in their life cycle. Can we help them grow and build where they are? And so your 6-year-old probably understands investors pretty well because she knows her dad. And, I want to build the infrastructure that helps those investors grow. And if the investors are growing and they're getting what they need for their strategy, we're going to grow as well. And we help them grow with money, not with, fertilizer and compost like I do in my garden. But that is the whole idea, is to help people build and to grow.
What markets are you guys serving today? What are the loan sizes? Walk us through
It's interesting. Our average loan size is actually larger than it's ever been. Some of that is HPA, but it's not really, I think, attributable mostly to HPA. I think it's attributable more to the type of investor that we're serving. And so these are not really mom and pops. These are like real professional real estate investors who are a notch below institutional. So they have several hundred assets, not 2 or 3 assets, but they don't have, 20,000 assets like the institutional investors. And so that segment of the market, which is probably around 12, 15% of the people who are invested in residential real estate, they're the segment of the market that's actually growing the fastest, right? The institutional investors are having maybe some trouble finding things on the MLS now, although they're pivoting towards build to rent. The mom and pop has, their occasional real estate, but it's this group in the middle that's actually the most active in this particular market. They're rolling things up. They have been in the market for a while. And so we're seeing a tremendous number of refis where they're taking 2 or 3 old loans and rolling them together. And so it is increasing our loan size, which is closer to kind of the $6-7 million range, when it used to be more in the $3 to $4 million range.
So I imagine with that range, you guys are doing portfolios or
it's all portfolios, exactly. It's people who are really managing those assets as a business.
Yeah,
and it could be a bridge loan. It could be that they're aggregating and repurposing the assets, or building it out, like renovate to rent instead of build to rent. But it's also the perm loans associated with those, like they're 90% occupied or better, and they want 5-year, 10-year debt, whatever they want.
And are there, like, when you make a loan, are there release prices? Are there different clauses if you ever sell pieces of the portfolio, or is it typically they extend longer? Or what is a typical investor, what's their hold period?
Well, they tend to extend. They tend to refi at the 5-year. The 5-year loan is probably the most popular and very similar to a multifamily CMBS loan. It amortizes 30 years, but there's a balloon at the 5, so they tend to refi. But sometimes they sell the portfolio. It depends. If the investor is a PE-driven investor, they're probably going to monetize at some point. I find that the majority of people in this market, though, are actually in the market for the long.
Or the guys that you're dealing with are growing a portfolio. They have enough cash flow. They're growing their infrastructure. They have a team now. They got to keep
a real team. They may outsource some of it. People ask me all the time, like, are there more property managers that are internalized or externalized? It's really both, and it depends on the strategy, and both could work really well. Like, it depends on how much infrastructure they want to build, but they have a plan and they have a strategy.
We both know the world's changing drastically for this market over the last year, 6 months, 2 weeks, whatever. Yeah, what do you see? What do you think the big tectonic plates are moving when it comes to the last 12 months? What are, is it LTVs skyrocket or calm down? Interest rates went up or down? Like what's so different from a year ago?
Yeah, look, interest rates are obviously still elevated versus what people are thinking about for single family rental, although they're not elevated in like the history of interest rates, right?
Yeah, no.
They absolutely still pencil. Yeah. The problem is the volatility, right? You're allowed to be wrong maybe 6 months from now on where rates are going. You're not really allowed to be wrong in 6 days. Sometimes people are holding back just because it's so unclear. I mean, everyone last year would have said rates would be down by now. Everyone. No one expected the exact turn of events that have happened. And I think we don't know exactly where they're going quite yet. Tariffs do appear to have come and they're here. How long they last, how deep they are, which countries they actually wind up affecting, we don't really know, and how much it's going to hit the economy. What really is important is how much is it going to hit the economy and where do rates go. But the good news is the businesses are really sound and not that volatile. Right? Like rents are basically holding. There's a handful of markets where they're a little soft, but they're soft in the low single digits. And HPA is still actually remarkably improving in like a majority of markets. There's again, a few that are down a bit. You do have to underwrite the location. That's true in any loan, in any time period, in any market, but it is solid. When you look at the NOI growth and how efficient some of these operators have become and the amount of technology that's helped them out, and even the difference in kind of where people are now versus 10 years ago coming into this market, it's amazing how well the business plans have done. And so you take that really positive business backdrop against a volatile rate environment, and it's a little spotty, but people are getting deals done because the deals actually pencil.
Are you guys thinking about rolling out any new kind of creative products? DSCR didn't exist 7 years ago in this market. It's literally the most liquid part of the market right now. It's amazing. Yeah, I remember when we first started looking at them, I'm thinking, I don't know if that's such a good idea, that one, right? But now it is super liquid part of the market. But it's super relevant in the commercial world. Even you think about CMBS, the underwriting the asset and the cash flow.
Yeah.
But in single family, which is a bigger industry, it didn't exist, but now it exists. Are you guys thinking of any products?
I actually think it's a fantastic innovation for the residential space because, as you mentioned, it is the largest. It's actually the largest asset class in the entire U.S. Right? I think the world. The fact that there's a cash flow product is a really good idea.
I agree. Are you guys thinking of any innovative kind of products you're looking at, or dipping your toes into a different market or anything like that?
As I mentioned earlier, we like to do things in portfolios. And so the DSCR in the portfolio, it's actually really well established. It's very much a commercial underwrite. It's not as much of a desktop underwrite like the single asset DSCR loans. And so I think they're actually quite credit positive, a financial investor in the asset class. And I think eventually they're better for the investor if they're managing it as a portfolio and it's only one loan. They don't have to figure out how to pay the taxes on 17 properties. The servicer is kind of doing that for them and stuff because they're portfolio based.
I'm a big proponent of cross-collateralizing assets and helping each other. When something goes wrong, there's vacancy.
They are definitely crossed, which is nice for the financial investor. But also the individual DSCR market is fully recourse, is very similar to consumer loan. The portfolio market is more similar to the commercial loan. It's not recourse. And so even though you have the cross-collateralization, if you have a fund investor or someone who can't handle the recourse, it's a better product. But of course, the onus really is on the underwriter to make sure that they have underwritten cash flows because there is no recourse.
I'm with you. What are LTVs in your portfolios? Like, a typical loans? What?
So interestingly, again, because it's a portfolio, we're looking at LTVs around 70 usually, or the DSCR around 1.2 times, right? Similar to the single asset. But because one or the other is always the limiter, if you have a portfolio of these portfolios,
yep,
you're gonna wind up with lower LTV and higher DSCR overall, just because in any given loan, one or the other will be the limit.
I'm with you. From your seat, you build a couple of these companies already. What are the 2 or 3 metrics that you're like, those are your leading indicators if the company's going the right way or if you're falling out of line a little bit? From your head, what are those two or three major kind of levers you could pull?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably more conservative than the average person. I really need to make sure I don't need to make a lot of money right away in order to scale, but I don't like to lose money. And there are definitely people who swing harder for the fences, and I get a little bit anxious, like maybe I need to swing a little harder, and everybody talks about a J curve. I've never really had a J curve. I have a much simpler climb, just more of a normal climb. I am more comfortable, not with the if you build it, they will come, but let's build it as we're doing it. And I think that makes some people that makes them more anxious because, the build is riskier versus doing the full build and then launch.
What up? So how are you guys growing in the sense of, is it digital? Is it referral? Is it repeat customers? Because you need
it's finally a decent amount of digital. I'm sure you know that you can't just walk into a brand new company and spend more money on digital and have it work. It is iterative. You have to build your quality over time. You have to really start getting indexed. And we're just cusping past the point where we're getting a decent amount of digital inbound, because this is really niche-y. It's not like you can go and buy leads. It's not Loan Depot, right? And I don't buy any leads. We generate all of our own leads, either from data analysis or from digital. We do a tremendous amount of data
enrichment type of thing, or
we figure out where is this particular client. You have to find people that have a certain number of assets, are actually managing it like professionals. It's not just normal mortgage leads.
Once you do find that core customer, walk us through kind of the user journey for them, for the borrower, right? To approach you guys, and how does that process work today?
I mean, it's kind of one of the reasons why I kind of like the word Encore for the company, because I feel like we're playing for the next loan. The most important thing in kind of private lending is how sticky the client base is. If you do your job, your client acquisition cost on the next loan is 0, right? And we should always be playing for the next loan, never for this one. If you're in this type of a market with a transactional approach, you will not build a client base. This is about being a partner with your client, understanding what the needs are, because these loans are not, they're not brain surgery, but they're more complicated than just doing a consumer loan. They are not cookie cutter, machine driven. People need to actually understand the business to get the underwriting and the package together in a reasonable period of time with not too much friction.
How do you guys approach different geographies? Meaning, if I'm an operator in Atlanta, I have properties in Nebraska and Houston. Yeah. Do you guys look at those different portfolios?
We do approve people, at least on the bridge loans, by state. They can be in those 2 different locations as long as we can see that they have experience doing that. But if somebody has no experience in North Dakota, we're not going to approve them. We actually do look at that. I think it's really important that the investor knows what they're doing in the location they're in, or has an outsourced model that actually works, somebody who's local who knows what they're doing.
Or best-in-class property manager.
Some people who could be in 3 or 4 states and be internally managed in 2 or 3 of them and externally in others, that's okay too. It's just that they have to actually know what they're doing. They have to have a decent plan in each location that we can do.
What do you think, snap tests, what do you think the biggest changes to underwriting have been over the last, let's say, 12 months or something like that? What has been the biggest things that you guys have had to sharpen your pencil on?
Yeah, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, there's a few buckets of the market that are softening a little. It's not like a crash, or it's certainly not things we've seen, 14 years ago. It is time to really look at those assumptions. You can't assume that cap rates are going to compress. You must look at, where are the values trending? So you're doing a much deeper underwrite on value than you were doing probably. But also the other thing that luckily there's a lot of interesting technology too now that's helpful, but fraud is going up, and so you have to really be careful with fraud. You really have to take a look at you're not just pulling stuff in, you're verifying each piece that you're pulling.
Have you guys added any technology to your stack to verify? I don't know.
Yeah, we're definitely using technology like bank statements, taxes, and things that you used to just get a lot of PDFs on. But now you can actually see into accounts and see the actuals versus relying on a piece of paper.
Someone could just create a bank statement or a few sources to use as the funds and bank statements and all that. Interesting.
It could happen.
No, It does happen. It does happen. Leaning into the tech side of it. So AI is everywhere now and everybody's talking about it and we're all using it. And, has it really moved the needle for you guys yet?
It hasn't moved the needle yet, but it is pretty exciting, particularly on like the asset management side and for data. It's kind of blowing my mind.
Kind of just analyzing lots of data.
How you can pull data sources in without some of the man hours is fantastic. And as I mentioned earlier, we're very data driven, particularly even on the lead gen side, but it's nice to have also on the asset management side. I would say on the barbells, it's been incredibly helpful. We're still working through how much of it in the middle, which is like the true underwriting piece. I don't think it can replace humans in the underwriting. It can help pull like all the different appraisals together, put them in something for you. But I don't think you want to lose the human piece of the underwriting because that's where your kind of gut feeling is going to pick up on some of these things.
As a founder, how hard has it been for your team to buy in and start using all the AI tools? Has it been easy on your end or has it been difficult?
It's actually been harder to get the people around me to use it. Sure. I'm like, totally, but like maybe I'm a little bit too interested in kind of what's next. I really like it.
It's a very common answer when I talk to people. The leaders are like, oh my God, let's see what we can do with this. And the team's like scared to make mistakes, scared to screw something up, scared to do something. And it's hard to get everybody to buy in. Even if you're like, here are the tools, I'm paying for them, just go break things. Most people are scared to, in the job side at least, a lot more scared to start using them.
So, it's not exactly the same, but I'm a huge fan. There was a class that was taught at Stanford that turned into a book, Reid Hoffman from LinkedIn taught, called Blitzscaling.
For sure. He has an entire class about it.
Yeah, he turned it into a big book. I actually used to have the original PowerPoint. I had seen it really kind of early. And one of the things that I appreciated the most in it was that at each stage in the company, it kind of goes from like village to town to city and all those things. It's actually supposed to break. Like that's how you know that you're kind of scaling to the next level is when you have not a control break. I'm not encouraging anyone to do that, but it freed me from feeling like you have to have perfection along the way. Like I felt it's actually okay in a company if you feel like something is breaking a little bit because of your volume. That's a good thing. It means you're at the next scale and you can build it. You have to build rules. If you have, in a family, everybody knows what's going on, or in a town, you have to have town rules. And by the time you're in a city, you actually have to have laws. And so it's okay to build more infrastructure and to change the way you're doing things as they break. But it was freeing for me to have this concept that breaking is part of scale.
That's okay. Yeah.
Like you're saying, like give them the tools, like go use the AI. And if it comes back nonsensical, that's okay.
100%.
Like we'll teach it something else or we'll use it for something else. But this idea of continuing to break, I think is actually incredibly positive for scaling a business.
Completely agree. Looking back at the first couple of years of this company, what were the toughest things you had to conquer? Like what was the biggest obstacles you had to jump over?
I think the biggest obstacles tend to be kind of human related.
Hiring and culture and all
getting
that.
the right people, getting the right culture, really sweating the details on that. It's so much more important than, somehow we've figured out how to pivot with the market, which is, I think, other people think is like the hardest piece. For me, that's kind of more intuitive, but the most important thing is getting the people right. Sometimes you don't, that's where I think the biggest challenges are because you may have the right people, you may have them in the wrong position. And so it's not just a question of getting the people right, but getting the people right and in the right spots.
Right, but in the right
they can succeed and that the company can succeed. You want everyone happy. I don't want people here that aren't happy.
They spend most of their day in your company, so might as well not have it.
Yeah, this is what we're doing, like with a lot of our waking hours. Let's enjoy it.
You think they all, when they were 6, for Halloween, they wanted to be in the mortgage industry. So
absolutely. Now it's a hot costume. Back in the day, it was not yet.
Let's take the gloves off. You have any fun war stories? I don't need names or addresses, but I love learning through life lessons and just crazy fraud stories or crazy property stories. Anything fun that we can learn with you?
Oh, there's been a few crazy property stories. Unfortunately,
everybody has them. It's just, are they willing to talk about it? But everybody
are they willing to talk about the meth lab? Yeah. You're doing the property tour.
Walter White.
You're doing the property tour. You're like, how did they get those burn stains on the ceiling? Right?
Why is the electricity bill so high?
Exactly. Like I had an NPL book once before I started the finance company, and this one asset looked really beautiful. It was literally like a Western set. It was the front looking of a building.
Yeah.
but there was nothing behind it. Like
it was like the facade. Just
it was just like the facade, like up on a thing, no, there was no house there.
Have you ever had someone get multiple loans on one asset at the same time?
Oh yeah, not from me. I mean, luckily, I've never actually loaned on the same asset myself twice, but yes. And people have actually done it by, you'd be surprised. People can actually do that by accident. If somebody does it by accident, they'll help you clean it up. When they do it on purpose, they do not help you.
Lending products. Anything you see in the market now that you guys are doing, anything that the listeners could learn from, anything that you see is interesting? Like I knew, like when DSCR came on the market, it was very different. Anything else in your world?
There's not something super new like DSCR. I do think DSCR is evolving and tightening. And so like the thing to, I think, keep in mind, if that is a product that you're interested in, is really making sure you have your C right. Like, are you actually covering? And I think people it's a cash flow loan actually does have to have the cash flow, less the expenses. And I think some of the lenders got a little away from that. They weren't really looking at the expense side, and people are definitely tightening a bit. I actually got more than one email today on whatever different lists I'm on with, people moving some tweaks in their program, and they're mostly focused on those things.
Are you guys, from your looking where your team's at, are you enjoying or liking any part of the United States more right now? Are you saying Columbus is, again, doing this thing, or stay away a little bit from Arizona? Like anything that you're liking more, any region?
It's funny. I've always liked Ohio. Not everybody always has, but one of the things I like about it is it's not that volatile. Like it tends to keep chugging. Yeah, just plain keeps tending to chug along. I don't, and I'm a lender. Like on a really good day, when I do everything perfectly, I get back par. That's what I get. I don't get any more than par ever. Like I have to actually be perfect to get par. So I don't care if the market is like expanding, because I'm not getting the expansion. What I care about is the market solid? And are the rents right? Is the value right? And sometimes the unsexy market could be the better one for that.
For you, for sure. You want to get payback.
Yeah, I get par. I'm good. I get par when I'm good. Think about that.
You got to put some sort of equity kicker in the back. And
that's it.
If you do everything great for them, you should get a little more.
I'll get the next loan. I'll get the refund.
Get the next loan. So final question, not a tricky one, a fun one. Let's say Beth goes back right after college, works her ass off, puts $50K together in 2025. How would you invest your first $50K in real estate today? Right, in today's world?
It's a very good question. I love single family rental, and I think there's so many benefits in like the liquidity and everything else. But if it's really your first one, a small multi is a little easier.
Would you buy yourself? Would you co-invest with someone who's done it before? What would you do?
If you could co-invest with somebody who's done it before, I think that's ideal. Just ideal. Because having a little, everyone is going to crawl through a little broken glass. There is no one who's not going to make some mistakes. And having somebody even the partner with the experience could still make mistakes. I mean, don't go into it like thinking it's perfect. But also just having a partner is more fun and more interesting and can help you see things that sometimes you don't see when you're doing things all by yourself.
Beth, that was awesome. Thanks for letting your hair down with us and just talking shop.
Yeah, no, it's been great to have this conversation. It's really fun. See, aren't you glad I'm not like in a lab with a bunch of mice? I would be talking to the mice, and they would be going crazy.
I just like that we talk shop and be honest and learn from each other. That's what I enjoy the most.
Me too. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
For sure.